Hello and welcome into Fantasy Focus Football, presented by Little Caesars. My name is Daniel Dopp alongside Field Yates and Stephania Bell. We are here on a Monday, getting ready to recap everything that was Week 9 of the football season. Pumped to have you guys here. How are you both doing today?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You said that with a rise in your voice inflection. I think that means you're lying.
I know. I have mixed feeling. It was a day of mixed emotion.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
I will say, Niners took care of business.
That's right.
So feeling good about that.
One of the great stories in the NFL, 6-3, and doing so with just 2 full starts for Brock Purdy. Shout out Mac Jones, who's been so good for them. Very happy for him. Big win for them yesterday. And we got another huge game tonight, which I feel like tonight, even if both teams have losing records going into it, potential for a lot of fantasy on the line. So we'll finish up the show by giving a quick preview of Monday Night Football. The Cowboys playing host to the Arizona Cardinals.
You know what? While you're watching that football game, just in case you decided to wait and you're like,
I'm already hungry.
I'm a little bit hungry. You know what you could do? You could hit up Little Caesars because Sam Darnold and I teamed up to bring America 15% off Little Caesars today. Use the promo code GameTime. What's the promo code, Field?
Game time. Who? Thank you. Just game time, actually.
Yeah, there's no who at the end. Yeah, it's just game time. But go check that out. Sam Darnold crushed this last week. 330 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 27.2 fantasy points. It's almost like it's a good decision to play quarterbacks against the Commanders.
It certainly works in your favor. It may not be quite as good as playing against the Bengals, but it definitely works in your favor. Sam was brilliant. I was thinking about this on the way in. Single player transaction from this offseason. So not like the aggregate of all the guys that maybe one team brought in, but just one player, one move of this offseason. I think the best move is either Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones going to their respective teams.
Yeah.
Now 7-2 in the case of Indiana Jones and 6-2 in the case of Sam Darnold. But just a masterful performance from Sam. Did not have a single incompletion in the first half.
That was nuts.
He had 3 in the second half, so he really slacked off. He was 16 for 16 in the first half.
Yeah, he was so great.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was amazing. Yep.
All right, we'll dive into the rest of the Seahawks in a minute, but let's first get ready with our Monday morning blitz.
Right.
Stephania, I am going to start with you in this one. What's your first big takeaway, your winner of the week?
Listen, I'm very happy about this because yesterday on Fantasy Football Now, I believe I said I thought this guy was going to have a big day because I thought the team really waited until Brock Bowers was healthy to bring him back. And what I meant was I thought he'd look, like the Brock Bowers we saw before. But no, he decided to go historic on us.
That's right.
Putting up 43.3 fantasy points.
Go.
Most by any player so far this season, most by any tight end since 2020. That was Darren Waller, who put up that many fantasy points 5 years ago. But
also for the Raiders.
Believable. Yeah.
That's right. I got a quick, if you want to, our friend Tristan H. Cockcroft, who we're all friends with here, had a great, had a great tweet. Brock Bowers' 43.3 fantasy points are the 10th most scored in a game by any tight end in history. Wow. The last one to do it, Field, you called it, Darren Waller, also with the Raiders, who had 45 in week 13 of 2020. That's an unbelievable, that was a historic game that we saw from Brock Bowers.
It was a complete reminder of how talented he is. How he is the best tight end in football, by the way. And I was thinking about this yesterday as the game was winding down. That game ended up going to overtime. The Raiders lose 30-29 to the Jaguars. Jaguars now 5-3. But you guys may recall from Billy Madison, where it's a meme that goes around often, where Adam Sandler is holding up the dodgeball. And it's like, now you're all in big trouble. And I was like, everybody who has Brock Bowers on their team now that he is back, and posted that meme.
That's the meme.
Then it dawned on me.
Yeah.
You might be hurting because I've got a team that has been basically left for dead because I used my first round pick on Brock Bowers. So I am very much in the well of my team's, my league standings. That being said, if you found a way to stay afloat during the first 8 weeks of the season, not entirely without Brock Bowers, but basically without Brock Bowers for 7 out of the first 8 weeks, then you are set up incredibly well for the rest of the season. Best tight end in fantasy football. I don't think it's close. Just a masterful performance.
He also remains like the absolute proof positive that you do not need a functioning team in terms of wins and losses. You can have a quarterback who's underperforming. You can have all of these things and still be a fantasy rock star. One-handed catches over your back shoulder going into the end. I mean, just unbelievable play. He's so talented, fun to watch.
How many games did he end up missing officially? 4 games? 3 games? 4 games? 5 games? There was a couple of weeks because of the bye.
I have
4,
to
5,
look
6,
back.
7, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, Stephania, first week back on the field, did you see anything where you were like just watching his body, the way that he moved? Like any reason to be, I mean, obviously not.
No,
He scored 43
I
fantasy
think
points.
he answered all the questions because that was just it. The things that he said he couldn't do before was he couldn't dig, right? When you're running hard and you have to stop, decelerate hard, and push off, any knee instability is going to give you trouble with that. He knew that he had to get that back. They waited, unfortunately, and made us lose fantasy points while he tried to play through that. But it really shows you the difference between something that's subtle, right? Non-surgical, subtle instability, and we were barely getting anything out of him. And now he's healthy, and it skyrockets up. It's cool to see it in that regard.
It was awesome. It was amazing. It was vintage. And if you happen to buy low on Brock Bowers, maybe somebody was desperate in your league, congratulations to you. Yeah. He was great. My winner of the week, Daniel, is the highest scoring quarterback of the week going into Monday Night Football. Ooh. That's Caleb Williams, who the Bengals can heal all of your offensive woes.
Yes, they
Caleb
can.
Williams and the Chicago Bears win one of the wildest games of the NFL season.
Yes.
The final score is 47-42. The Bears are up by 14 with less than 2 minutes to go. They end up scoring a last-second touchdown. Colston Loveland should also be mentioned in this portion of the conversation. He was amazing yesterday. But big shout out to Caleb Williams. I asked this question this show last week. Is Caleb Williams still a starting fantasy quarterback, or is it simply matchup dependent? Yesterday proved that if a matchup is right,
it's a
you
good
can take
matchup.
advantage of it.
Yeah.
I still think there's some work to do from Caleb in terms of proving that he is a top 10 to 12 option week in and week out. But he had 4 total touchdowns. And I felt
That's
like
pretty good.
I was reading the brain, the mind, the wizardry of Kyle Soppe last night when I saw this, and the NFL always does this on Sunday nights. They send out a packet. They call it 7 from Sunday, and it's 7 notable statistical nuggets from the day that was. And one of them was like something to the effect of, and I saw a bunch of people use this, or maybe even Chicago Bears PR had dug it up prior to the NFL digging it up. And it was like Caleb Williams, because the first player in NFL history with 200-plus passing yards and 20-plus completions and 4 total touchdowns and 2 or more receptions.
Right.
Oh, I saw that. And a receiving touchdown. Yeah.
So it was one of those where it was like, it's very obscure, but I still, like, I took it hook, line, and sinker.
That's
Love
right.
it. So Caleb had 2 catches yesterday.
Right. Because
He
it
did.
was a complete game. And I think for me, what I saw was he was functioning very well within the structure of the offense, but then he had to make a couple creative plays where he had to scramble and do something on his feet. And he also used his legs. So all the things that we pretty much listed off yesterday that we wanted to see from him, he did all of it. I feel like, and I don't claim to know him well, but I did spend time with him when we were working on that piece. And I feel like he's such a processor, very analytical and very self-critical. I mean, it's part of what drives him to be good, that I feel like he needs games like this back to back to get the confidence to continue to play like this. Like that's what we haven't seen. I feel like it breaks down sometimes when he's getting hit and he's not seeing the field well, and then it falls apart. I'd really love to see him be able to carry this forward for a couple consecutive games.
Well, they get the Giants next week, and you can attest, not a particularly good defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who was your winner?
First off, I would like to say that in a game like this, where the Detroit Lions unfortunately play bad, the wizardry of Ben Johnson for the Chicago Bears on offense, it just like I see it. I desperately want it.
Things can be true at once.
I know.
The Lions can still be a great team.
Yes, they can.
Great offense.
Thank you,
and
Field.
John Morton can be very capable.
Yes.
Ben Johnson can also be an outstanding coach, too. It's possible that multiple things can be true.
It was fun when my quarterback was catching touchdowns last year, and now Caleb Williams is the one doing that. So
Jared almost caught one this year.
You did almost.
I still
You did
can't
almost.
get over that penalty, but I digress. Tell me what you got.
You had alluded to it already, but my monster winner of the week is Colston Loveland. Absolutely huge. 6 receptions on 7 targets, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the aforementioned game-winning, improbable touchdown score at the end of the game. Yeah. That was unbelievable.
And by the way, Cole Kmet left the game with a concussion.
Yes, he did, Field.
Zero idea whether Cole Kmet will be available next Sunday when they play against the Giants, but if he isn't, it's going to be hard for us to not consider Colston Loveland the top 12-ish option at tight end.
It's like you're reading right off my notes. You got all the things, buddy. No, you're good. Cole Kmet left at just before halftime with a concussion. He had the second half all to himself. Unless he clears the protocol, which we'll continue to monitor all week, I as well have him in the top 10 to 12 conversation heading into week 10.
Yeah, he was awesome. A really cool moment for him to, and this is how the world works. I mean, and we contribute to this. It's part of our job. We have to kind of be keeping up on takes all the time and then revisiting takes all the time. But Colston Loveland, a lot of talk was how could the Bears have passed Tyler Warren when there was for Colston Loveland, right? And it's like, I think what the reality was for those two players is that they're both exceptional young tight end prospects.
Yeah.
And Tyler Warren's, I will take nothing away from him, other than noting that like he probably went to a spot where they needed the tight end to play a lot sooner. Loveland got his chance to play, and he was excellent yesterday. Both of those guys are two of the brightest young stars in the NFL.
It's been great. Can I give you my loser just to follow right off of that?
We have whatever you want, man.
In a game in which over 80 points were scored, Rome Odunze
He had like 15 or 16.
comes up with a goose egg.
Yeah.
I don't understand this one. Rome Odunze played 76 snaps. He played more than any other skill position player on either team in this one. 3 targets, 0 catches, had a drop in the end zone.
Yeah, that was one of those where
he put his hands on his head. He knew.
He was kind of running, if you're watching from Caleb's vantage point, he's running left to right. He's in between 2 defenders, and Caleb puts it on his right hip when Rome is running this way.
It was tough.
It's one of those where I truly believe Rome catches that pretty often.
More often than not.
But I also truly believe that Caleb Williams needs to put that ball right in the gut there. But yes, that wouldn't, and he had a play that was called back because of a penalty as well. So, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, if you guys don't mind. First 4 weeks of the season, he had 7 or more targets in every single game.
Yeah.
Then they had the bye week.
Yeah.
Coming out of the bye, he has 1 game with more than 7 targets so far. He now has under 5.5 fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games post the bye. We had talked about earlier this offseason, like the panic meter, the Field Yates panic meter. Is it starting to register on Rome Odunze? Not even worried about it yet. Okay.
DJ Turner. Got him. Mike talked about this on Thursday. He's been quietly one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
Even though the Bengals were a great matchup, DJ Turner was.
He's like the only good defensive player that's healthy right now because Trey Hendrickson is dealing with that hip injury.
Well, when you look at the box score, or you just check in and you see Bears 43, Bengals 41, or whatever the score was, and then you look and you see, Rome got me 0.
So let's put it this way then. All right, there was a time where we were like, Rome is a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy football. That is not where I'm at with Rome.
Kind of leveled out a little bit.
But am I going to start him every single week?
Yeah.
I plan on doing so until proven otherwise.
Okay.
And again, sometimes great players, like the one I'll talk about as my loser of the week, just have duds.
Yep.
Jahmyr Gibbs. 5.8 fantasy points.
I know.
Second fewest ever in a game.
Yeah.
This is his 3rd season in the NFL. So.
It was another receiving votes for me.
Yeah. Hard not to. And
I don't think he received any votes in that game. Sorry, I was trying to make a reception. I was trying to do a reception joke. It didn't land.
It's wild, though, because this is now the 4th game this year that Jahmyr Gibbs has been held to 10 or fewer receiving yards. He had 3 games of that variety last year. The entire season.
Of 10 or fewer.
Of 10 or fewer. He had 3 last year with 10 or fewer. This year, he now has 4 with 10 or fewer. And I think, and Mike pointed this out on Twitter, Daniel, you've been telling us about this throughout the season, like they've totally shifted the way this offense is being played. And one of the realities of Jahmyr Gibbs taking on a larger role, just like in general as the workhorse, is that he's getting more touches. He's also getting more pass blocking reps. Like last year, the idea was Monty can really hammer you, David Montgomery. And then when we're ready to throw some ridiculous pass to Jahmyr Gibbs, we'll do it. And it might be 5 or 6 or 7 times a game.
Yep.
We've seen less of that this year. However, he's still an amazing player. He had 83 receiving yards just a couple of weeks ago. Like Gibbs, do I feel any differently about him now compared to where I was coming into the week? No, I'm just disappointed because a lot of people say to themselves, I have Jahmyr Gibbs, I have a chance. Right. This week, you don't have a chance.
I think that whole set it and forget it mentality is where I came up with my loser of the week, too, because that's what happens. Yeah. You're like, when you set your roster, you're like, okay, I got this injury, this bye week, I got to plug in this one. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to dart throw over here. But look who I have in this slot.
But I know my RB1 is set up.
RB1 is set. Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, guess what? If you felt that way about Jonathan Taylor, as I did, going into our War Room League matchup, and then you check the score later, you're like, wait, did he get hurt?
What happened?
Like, what is happening? Yeah. Because you don't have your eyes on that game necessarily. Jonathan Taylor, I felt it only fair because he's been in my winner column so much, and I've been giving him all these flowers that I had to acknowledge that he can have a bad game once in a while. He did 7.7 fantasy points. Season low for him. What's really happened is Christian McCaffrey's now passed him up as the number 1 running back on the season.
Yeah. They've been back and forth.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor, you let that crown go. I need you to bounce back. and be vying for that crown next week.
That crown, I mean, with what you're talking about, I feel like the top 3 running backs have separated themselves in fantasy football for us. I think it's Jonathan Taylor, CMC, and Bijan Robinson. And I think those are the clear cut.
Devon Achane, I'd say, was part of that.
Oh, that's okay. That's a fair with his pass catching ability.
It's 4 and then sort of a baby.
Because if Gibbs was catching the ball as much, he would have been up there, but without the pass catching ability.
Gibbs, Josh Jacobs.
That's a tough one, Stephania, because obviously we all trusted Jonathan Taylor. You have a day like this where it's just like,
look
you
what
get
he
it
did
done.
the week before. Right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I think all 3 of the players we discussed will still be comfortably in lineups.
Agreed.
Next week.
It's more that we felt like the losers because we know that they have so much more.
Exactly. Sure. Exactly. If you had a what the heck player of the week, Stephania, we go snake style here with the way we do this. Who would it be?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not a player. It's a game. It was that Raiders-Jaguars game. Do you know that the score was 6-3 at the half? And between them, they scored 50 points in the second half of the overtime.
That's amazing.
It was insane. It was like you had I don't know what happened at halftime, but all of a sudden everybody woke up and started throwing the ball around. There was a lot of weirdness that happened in that game. Missed extra point on the Raiders' first score going into the half. That was the 6th of the 6-3. That was the difference in the game. Yeah. I mean, it ended up being a difference maker in the game. They missed a 2-point conversion at the end on a really weird, good defensive play, tip ball that you had, wide open in the back of the end zone. Tyler Lockett, newly acquired. They thought he was going to be the one who was going to seal the deal in overtime. That didn't end up happening. Trevor Lawrence came into the game sick, didn't feel well, was kind of like, yeah, great, glad we won, want to go lie down. Just a weird game. And
I was going to say, we had 2 things of history because the first one we already mentioned was Brock Bowers and then Cam Little.
Cam Little, 68 yards, longest field goal in the NFL. And that was nuts.
That was a bomb.
A bomb.
That was so cool.
You know, it's getting to be that punts. I really would love to see data on this at some point. Like, how many punts do we have versus we're just going to throw the kicker out if we're half a field away and give it a shot?
It's either a kicker or we're just going to go for it on 4th and 3, right? We've seen so much more of that this year.
Or 4th and 17. Or 4th and 7 like the
17 from Mahomes this last week was unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
I can't believe they did that.
I'm going to be very short and very not so sweet on my what the heck. You're just constantly cruising through like guys that just did nothing. Rome Odunze was at one point my answer for this. Evan Ingram joined him.
Oh my God.
0 for 0. So a guy that we had been
so much Evan Ingram
building a little bit of trust, right? Like at tight end, you're looking for maybe not 20 from Evan Ingram, but could we get like 4 for 52 or something? The answer is no.
Yeah, not in that one, no. I'm going to go the other side of this and bring it back to a little bit of positive before we move on to the rest of our takeaways.
Okay.
My what the heck is second backup running back in the NFL to just dominate when he gets the touches. Kyle Monangai.
Yeah, baby.
Over 175 rushing yards.
It's amazing.
Top 4 rushing games this year. James Cook, 213 or 216, somewhere like that. Yep. You had both of the Rico Dowdle games when he came in, and now Kyle Monangai at 175 rushing yards. Played almost 75% of the snaps. A reminder, it wasn't just no DeAndre Swift. It was also because there was no Rashawn Johnson in this one. So he was basically had the entire backfield to himself, 26 carries, 176 yards, 3 catches for 22 yards, a total of almost 200 yards from scrimmage and 22.8 fantasy points. Cincy's defense is awful.
Yep.
Terrible. And that was great when you got this, like, if you found out last minute that DeAndre Swift was out and you had either planned ahead or gone out and grabbed Kyle Monangai, because we've been talking about him. We had been saying this snap share has been becoming more of a committee. We've been closer back and forth. So currently RB3 in the week. I guess moving forward, do you think now that this is a committee, right?
Committee, maybe not a total committee, but I think that we're going to see
way more.
Swift was at 60% of the snaps.
One of my takeaways was the whole thing with the backfield. We have another situation.
You want to do it then right now?
We can do it right now.
Let's do it.
You want to, we go right into that. One of my takeaways for the week was Monangai made the case for offloading DeAndre Swift more. So DeAndre Swift doesn't play because of the groin injury. And the question now to me becomes, do they, A, take longer to allow DeAndre Swift to get healthy? Monangai owns it in his own right. Does DeAndre Swift come back and this becomes a management thing of this groin, but in order to help him manage it, it still heavily leans toward Monangai? Or do we get the dreaded Seattle backfield?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I lean towards DeAndre Swift holding a little bit more value than either Seattle back does. But I think that DeAndre Swift, who was kind of flirting with being like a top 12 consideration, falls a little bit back in the RB2 pack. That's where I lean right
Agreed.
now. Is that like he's more along the line. I'm trying to think of a good example. Running back's been so bizarre this year. I'm just trying to think of like a good like low end RB2 right now, like maybe a little bit more like Ramondre Stevenson when he's healthy. Like, you're probably starting him. Maybe like J.K. Dobbins, more receiving value, obviously, than
more
J.K.
receiving value, and that also I think allows you. But you have to make sure he's healthy, or in certain packages he just won't be able. He won't produce as well. He won't be as explosive, and then they'll be like, we really don't want to use him much anymore. So I'd be a little nervous if I have DeAndre Swift on my roster.
Also,
totally
as much as I love this game, and I don't want to fault him for this, but the Bengals are really bad. Now, that's not like a fault.
Yeah.
For you to be able to crush a bad defense is what you should do. But I'm not expecting this from Kyle Monangai every single week, obviously.
Yeah.
This was him taking advantage of a really good matchup.
So I would say this, is that like, you're right, the Bengals are awful on defense, but 200 yards is ridiculous.
Oh, that's really good.
By the way, we talked about this on Fantasy Football Now yesterday. Mike, or somebody brought up the fact that Monangai was minus 140 to score a touchdown at ESPN.
Yeah.
And it's like the guy goes for freaking 200 yards
and
doesn't find the end
doesn't
zone.
get in the end zone.
Course, a weird day in that regard, but a huge, huge day from him.
Yep.
Let's get into the takeaways beyond that.
Let's do it. Go ahead, Field Yates.
Take away Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
How many better pure rushers have there been this year than Rico Dowdle?
Oh, just like a straight up rusher in the NFL.
Rushers in the NFL.
Maybe James Cook.
That's right. Yep. He's those two by definition have been purer because
James has not had a lot of passing game usage either, or receiving game usage either. So maybe James.
Rico Dowdle is now third in the NFL in rushing yards. He's third in the NFL in rushing yards, and he was barely playing for like half of his team's games. But yesterday, after Dave Canales told us, "Hey, it's coming," Rico Dowdle is going to be the guy for our backfield against a very, very stingy Packers defense against running backs for fantasy football points. Rico Dowdle put on a show. 25 carries, 130 yards, a pair of touchdowns, 2 receptions for 11 yards. He played 74% of the snaps in his 3 starts this season. Games in which Chuba Hubbard was not available, or yesterday in which Chuba took the backseat. Rico Dowdle's worst game out of those 3 is 28.1 fantasy.
Shut up.
28.1. He is off the charts right now, is Rico. I think going forward. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Both of you jumping in.
Wasn't he? Well, I felt like at some point yesterday, I watched him kind of hobbling around in the backfield, but he still stayed out there. Was there anything that came from it?
He missed like the rest of the drive.
Okay.
He looked like it almost looked like he got like a Charlie horse or something. He just was like,
I'm
needed
cramping because I'm running.
I'm doing so much right now.
So well, yeah. To your point, Phil,
it's unbelievable.
Chuba Hubbard only 1.7 fantasy points, 5 carries for 17 yards. I feel sad for him because he's been such a star for them in the past, and it's totally the passing of the baton. But I'd say the Rico Dowdle experiment worked. I agree.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I think going forward, like we're talking about. Again, I think we get a little bit too caught up. I say this all the time, like, is he 7? Is he 12? Is he a player you're starting going forward? Because the Panthers running game, 7 amongst running backs, that Panthers run game just totally kicks people in the chin.
Yeah.
And on top of that, that's what they want to do. They are not a pass-heavy team. Can't blame them with the way that their offense works right now. So Rico Dowdle, if you grabbed him on waivers and held him through the Chuba Hubbard return, I really believe, because we're still waiting for this guy to become the clear face of waiver wire ads. I can't recall exactly what Rico Dowdle's roster percentage was to begin the season, but I'm willing to bet he is amongst. I think you can make the case that Rico's been about just the best waiver wire pickups period. Like if he was below 50%, then there's a chance that we have the best waiver wire pickup period. Quentin Johnston, Danny Dimes has been in that conversation as well, but he has been awesome. What do you got,
great.
Daniel?
My guy was not a waiver wire guy, but one of the main takeaways is just I want to highlight another gigantic day for Drake London.
Jeez.
9 for 116 and 3 touchdowns on 14 targets, 38.8 fantasy points. The big thing for me is Drake London has solidified himself as one of the alpha wide receivers at the top of this league. 10 or more targets in 4 straight games. Anytime that you can get double-digit targets in 4 straight, 100 yards and a touchdown, 100 yards and a touchdown, not or a touchdown, and a touchdown in 3 of his last 4 games, 25 or more fantasy points in all 3 of those games. He was wide receiver 1 on the week heading into Sunday Night Football. JSN going into halftime tried to make that be a thing. Then it kind of slowed down. They didn't need to score as much for the Seahawks. But Drake London is just a bad man, and he is one of those. We talk about set it and forget it. If you got Drake London on your squad, you're feeling real good.
It's the way he catches the ball, too. He's making his quarterback look really good because he's making catches that not everybody else could make. But to your point, his hip looks fine.
Yes.
Yeah,
no
issues
By the way,
there.
Darnell Mooney, 1 catch yesterday. Basically, every wide receiver not named Drake London is not a factor for the Falcons there.
Well, I'll take your Seattle and I'll raise you because I was basically, my takeaway was the Seattle offense is humming. Like their passing offense is so legit and so exciting. You've got Sam Darnold performing at, dare I say it, an elite level.
Yes.
And
dare you, Stephania.
You've got JSN and pretty much anybody else who comes in who just scores a touchdown, whether it's a tight end, whether it's Torrey Horton?
Torrey Horton.
Yeah. Colorado State. I was worried about him because of the injury issues when he was drafted. So far, it's just a chance to blow up. But JSN, to me, my takeaway thing is for anyone who's not Sam Darnold as a quarterback, is JSN the only starter that you have for fantasy purposes consistently? The backfield is worth nothing to me. Nothing at all. They cancel each other out. It's like negative math. And everybody else just comes in to get a touchdown wherever you throw that dart that day.
AJ Barner rushing touchdown last night. Why not? Right? Yeah.
I think the running backs, so he's the only guy that is a must start to me. The running backs are if I have to start them
when
because
there
I
are
don't have
16
anyone
on
else.
A bye again,
exactly.
I think in week 14,
that's how I play them.
But yes, it's Sam Darnold is sort of knocking on that territory.
Although Torrey Horton, if you're in a 16-team league field, Yates, is not a bad option.
I know, he really isn't. He was the long shot yesterday on Fantasy Football.
Good for you. It was a great call.
Congratulations. That was
and I was sweating going into the game because Shefty had Alec Pierce.
It helped. I mean, Cooper Kupp is not having those games anymore.
Right.
He just was not available as a target.
that was the reason for the pick, was that Cooper Kupp's 18 to 20% target share was vacated, which opened up the door for Torrey Horton, who has been a star for them since the beginning of the preseason. My next takeaway, and Stephania talked about it as well already, Jonathan Taylor specifically, but the Colts offense finally came back down to earth. I'll be curious to see what the narrative around Daniel Jones is this morning. I haven't watched too much of the morning programming, but he had 3 picks yesterday. He had a game that reminded us too much of the Giants days for Danny Dimes. Tyler Warren had just 26 receiving yards. Both Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. had big days yesterday for the Colts receiving room. That being said, a lot of that was in garbage time, or at least comeback mode against Pittsburgh. The only thing that has my attention just a little bit, and I want to give a shout out to our buddy Hayden Winks from Underdog, does a great job in so many ways. He's outstanding. He mentioned going into the game, he just was sort of curious what it looks like on grass for the Colts. They've played so many games. I believe yesterday was the second game. It was the second game all season playing on a grass surface. The first was against Tennessee. Tennessee in September is like Connecticut in July. It's beautiful. Everything is lush and green. Not the same as Acrisure Field in November.
But it's had, and that field in particular has
been the subject of a lot of
discussion already this year. So,
and a couple more. They have more games on the grass coming up. So again, not like Daniel Jones goes from quarterback 10 to quarterback 30 if he's not playing on turf. But just something to again, it's we're getting to the point where the number of players that we give you takeaways on might narrow because the number of players that matters at this point of the season tends to narrow, right? Like, we're no longer going to talk, like if Marvin Harrison Jr. has like 5 catches for 42 yards again tonight, like we don't have to do a big deep dive on like, hey, another ho-hum day for Marvin Harrison. Like that's what he is, right? But it's days in which stars subside that can swing the second half of your fantasy season.
If Jacoby Brissett makes Marvin Harrison look like a star,
we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that tonight.
Yes.
What else?
Let's see.
Do you mind if I'm going to jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
After two back-to-back big games, Joe Flacco has finally stabilized Chase Brown. Is this your moment to finally be able to get out, or do you think that you need to stay in if you've been riding the Chase Brown train? I just want to give you a couple things.
Okay.
11 carries, 37 yards this week. Yep. Actually, just on the ground in general this year, he's been really inefficient. Offensive line has not been good. We knew that, though, coming into the season.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a thing that, like, Joe Burrow helped mitigate for him because Burrow helped keep defenses honest. It gave Chase Brown a little bit more room. This week, he had 19.2 fantasy points because of 8 catches on 14 targets and 75 yards through the passing game. The week before, he had 25.2. He's been a major pass-catching contributor each of the last 2 games against the Jets, 3 for 32 and a touchdown. This week, 8 for 75 against the Bears. Like I said, a lot of that, I think, is coming because you have a competent quarterback under center that is able to lead this offense. It's a little bit harder now because the Cincinnati Bengals now head into a bye. So if you're going to try to move Chase Brown, it kind of sucks because you've got a bye week on tap. However, I just wanted to ask, Chase Brown.
You want out on Chase Brown right now?
I want to. Well, this is why. This is the last part. And this might be leading into why you are answering the question, because I think I'm with you on this one.
Okay.
Mike's strength of schedule had Chase Brown as the third hardest schedule heading into week 9. But from week 9 out, it is the 4th easiest for the rest of the season. And Samaje Perine got banged up with an ankle injury in that
hurt.
one.
Yeah. No, I don't want out in this business at all.
So do you believe? So you're like, it's finally materialized. I'm not panicked. I'm not going to try to sell to get out. It's like, this is finally here for me, and I'm going to own this.
I mean, it has something to do with Chase Brown. He obviously has to catch the passes and run the ball, but it has a lot to do with the worst defense I maybe have ever seen.
They are awful.
I thought the Bengals had to go up from last year.
If you watched it yesterday, there's nothing to explain.
It's awful.
Missing tackle. It looks like Keystone Cops.
Yeah.
There you go. There we go.
We're out there. We don't know what we're doing on defense. I agree with, the Chase Brown point you bring up, Daniel, like we talked about this in the preseason. I think some of the value when you were on the hype train for Chase Brown, people were worried about would the pass catching stay at the level that it was at previously. And the answer we thought was yes, but that was because we thought it would be Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And the problem was it just all fell apart when he wasn't there. And now that you're seeing him more involved in the passing game, I don't think there'd be any reason for that to change.
Well, let's talk about that, because I got a little bit of a hot take, and I think it might lead into a little bit of what Field's going to say, but I just want to say this. I think Joe Flacco is Joe Burrow right now. Like, you talk about one-to-one replacement level. Let's take a look. I asked our team to put together a full screen. Let's just look at the last 4 games that Joe Flacco has had
named Joe
for the Cincinnati Bengals. Because when you look at week 6 against the Packers, 219 and 2 touchdowns, 18.7 fantasy points. Yeah. Then the Steelers, 342 and 3 touchdowns for 25.9. Then the Jets, 237 and 3 touchdowns for 24.3. And then yesterday, 470 and 4 touchdowns for 30.7.
Career high
470, and he had an AC sprain coming in, and that is like he couldn't lift his arm
if
up
I didn't tell you
in the week.
that was Joe Flacco's box score, and I didn't tell you that Joe Burrow was out for the season, you'd be like, of course, Joe Burrow is just slinging it right now. That's what I'm saying. Joe Flacco has helped elevate this Bengals team.
Yeah, I just go to bed and wake up and say thank you, Joe Flacco, every day and every night. I want to state that.
Fantasy goodness for everyone.
Yeah,
him.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's just amazing for fantasy purposes. I think, Daniel, my response to that would be the numbers have certainly borne out a very similar.
He's got a rushing touchdown field.
Yeah, he does. Even a very similar profile to Joe Burrow. I think it's like if one of those guys were to turn into a pumpkin in a given week, we think that the chances of that happening with Joe Burrow are a lot lower than Joe Flacco, right? Like if and I don't know who they play coming out of their bye, but if it's like they play the Browns and Joe Burrow throws for like 122 and 3 interceptions, that would be a lot more surprising.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Burrow would be a lot more surprising than Joe Flacco doing it, right? So, but he's on the radar, Daniel. He's right there on that top 12-ish radar. I mean, the defense is so horrendous. So awful.
So horrendous.
Chase Brown had something to say about that.
I mean, just so horrendous. Like, I did not think it'd get worse, and it somehow got worse from last year to this year. So
Quick shout out. I want to tell you that. I just got this from Bill Barnwell. Bill Barnwell said that heading into this game, they had 19 more missed tackles than any other team in the NFL. And then, of course, we all saw what happened on that Colston-Loveland touchdown to end the game, where it's another massive mixed tackle.
Yeah. Had another double it up there. Hey.
They play the Patriots week after the bye. It's a nice defense. Yeah, it's a nice defense.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So.
Wow. While we're admiring the wisdom of veteran quarterbacks, I'm going to shift to a young quarterback who I think finally had the day that we were all hoping to see.
Did he? Sort of. Do I want to earmuff?
Yes. Yes, you do. But here's the thing. I think for me, I just kept hearing all this talk leading up to this week of, is J.J. McCarthy, was it a mistake to get rid of Sam Darnold? Because look how Sam Darnold's playing, and they don't know what they have with J.J. McCarthy, and was this an error? I think where I am right now, and the sample size is 3 games. 3 games. That's all we have with him. So it's too soon to judge. That's the main takeaway as far as where J.J. McCarthy's status is. But what I appreciate is that Kevin O'Connell, to me, proves once again that he knows what he's doing with mentoring quarterbacks, and he adjusts that for who he's dealing with. J.J. McCarthy did not miss too much time. J.J. McCarthy missed enough time to be healthy, to the point where he was not thinking about his ankle. So I watched that game closely because I wanted to see how he moved in particular.
Yep.
Knowing he had a right high ankle sprain, everything to the left where you are pivoting, rotating, looking to the left to throw is going to be harder. And guess where he was going a lot of the time?
Left.
That direction. And there was zero hesitation, zero apprehension. He needed at least that to have the foundation for success as far as his quarterback skills. Yeah. And that was the takeaway to me. Good for you, Kevin O'Connell, for sticking to your guns and giving him the best opportunity to succeed. Is he a finished product? I don't believe so, but I think he needed that because if he'd come back and he'd struggled or he had been limping around at all, that would for sure have been a disaster for the back half of the season.
I actually thought this was a...
I was going to say, I know Field has something else he wants to say about JJ.
Yeah, so I agree with what you said. I think for fantasy purposes right now, I'm not totally sold.
That's totally reasonable.
So hopefully it gets better, and hopefully yesterday, as I said, one of my notes was hopefully the confidence was built from yesterday.
Yes. Correct.
He's yet to exceed 165 passing yards in a game. Justin Jefferson was kind of saved by a touchdown yesterday. JJ completed 56% of his passes. They have now thrown in 3 starts with JJ McCarthy 66 passes.
They had
22 a game.
One of the things with this last game is he had a lot of short fields. They had a couple of turnovers. They had a couple of special teams plays. So even though he played really well, found the end zone 3 times, he was playing with a short field, which is why the yardage doesn't feel like it was there. So also that's a great confidence builder for a young quarterback.
Yeah, we hope.
Don't make me go 80 yards down the field. Give me some short fields to work with.
One of the confidence builders in that game to me was going to be Aaron Jones. And I thought, let's see if we get some short pass plays to Aaron Jones, which we did, but then Aaron Jones got hurt.
Yeah.
And then he left the game. And then it's a different game when it's not Aaron Jones
Jordan Mason's
in there.
not the
and
same.
Jordan Mason is not that. So, again, some of the things that I thought, okay, this is really going to help elevate JJ McCarthy, that didn't exist within that game.
Yeah. So I'll put a pin in this and just say, like, as far as my Justin Jefferson confidence index, it's not moved from yesterday's performance.
Yeah, it's the
Found
same.
the end zone. It's the same as it was, which is like you're still starting him, but the idea that like maybe he can take a jetpack to the moon and become a 20-point per game wide receiver, not totally there yet. Let's keep moving here, though, with some other takeaways here. If, and we don't know because it's Monday, if Ramondre Stevenson misses another game on Sunday for the Patriots, I think we're treating TreVeyon Henderson as like a low-end RB2.
Yeah.
He played 75% of the snaps yesterday. That's a great number for Henderson. He rushed for 55 yards. Importantly, he had 6 targets. So 20 opportunities for TreVeyon Henderson yesterday. Terrell Jennings scored a touchdown as their backup running back.
Of course he did.
And which, by the way, like, he was running the football effectively as a power runner. So we'll just keep an eye on Ramondre's toe going into this week. If he is out and the Patriots play the Bucs next weekend, I think Henderson will be somewhere in like the 16 to 20 or 21 range because there are 4 teams on a bye next week, including the likes of Chase Brown and Javonte Williams and Kareem Hunt, which I can mention this one quickly.
Yeah, let's do it.
If Isaiah Pacheco is out beyond week 10, the Chiefs are on a bye next week, and Tracy Wolfson, part of the CBS broadcast yesterday, said that Andy Reid told them they expect Isaiah Pacheco back in week 11 or close to it. But if for some reason he's not there, it's the Kareem Hunt show.
Right.
Every week it feels like we're hearing someone buzz about, Brashard Smith, more opportunities, more work. No. Kareem Hunt played 81% of the snaps. That's the most for any Chiefs running back since LaMichael Pirine did it back in 2023 in a giveaway game. So if Pacheco is out, don't be fooled. It is Kareem Hunt is the only Chiefs running back that has value in any size league.
I saw they brought CEH back, and then I watched him get like 1 carry, and he got swallowed up, -3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and I was like, it's going to be the Kareem Hunt show,
and Kareem
Hunt
scored again.
Yeah.
Does anyone? I just wonder if anybody starts Kareem Hunt. It's like the running back you see, and you're
like the 14
you're
team
like
or 12 team.
don't really,
deeper leagues.
You don't want to do it.
You don't
and
want
yet
to.
They keep going to him. They keep going back to him, and there's a decent chance he falls in the end zone.
Yep.
Speaking of guys that have a decent chance of falling in the end zone, Stephania, are you a professional segwayer? Because that was so good for me.
Okay. Who do you
Jackson Darts. Legs make him a continued lineup block. Another great day. 191 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, plus 8 more carries for 56 yards and a rushing touchdown, 27.2 fantasy points. He is the Giants' entire offense.
He's a one-man band.
He is everything right now. I feel like this is what we were kind of saying about Drake May last year when he was like kind of like utilizing his legs a little bit for the Patriots.
No, he was not. Remember, they did not.
They didn't want to do that. No designed runs. That's right. Well, Unlike that, Jackson Dart, I think, has plenty of designed runs, at least 54 rushing yards in 4 of his last 6 games,
Insane.
a rushing touchdown in 4 straight, and in 5 of his last 6. He is finding the end zone with his legs week in and week out. Takes on Chicago in week 10, which is another great matchup here for Jackson Dart.
Definitely.
He is a lineup block, man. With what he's doing with his legs, even though he's not throwing for a lot of yards, the yardage and finding the end zone, because they're not using either Tyrone Tracy or at least in this one.
They were not. Let's talk about that for a minute. As yesterday, there was a little bit of like Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal nature to it.
Yes, we all thought
Tyrone Tracy Jr. is going to be the guy. Turned out that Tyrone Tracy Jr. yesterday played 25 snaps. That was 6 fewer than Devin Singletary. Now, they played all the running back snaps. It was just those 2. So of the 56 offensive snaps that the New York Giants played, 25 went to Tyrone Tracy, 31 went to Devin Singletary, and Tracy's output, 5 carries, 18 yards, 3 catches, 19 yards. A great fantasy day. Devin Singletary, 8 carries, 43 yards, so more effective as a runner. 2 catches for 8 yards. So both players under 8 fantasy points. Neither one of them would have been worth the start.
Oh, great.
And but the bottom, it's so like rather than Tyrone Tracy catapulting into like, this guy needs to be a top 20 running back consideration. We're not talking about
that. Devin Singletary dragged him down to his level where he's now. They're both unstartable.
Yeah, and so we'll see. It's only one game. They play the Bears next week, as we know. An opportunity to score some points for the Giants. But the hope that Tyrone Tracy was just going to take this backfield and run with it was not the case yesterday. Not as important of a takeaway, but just to mention it, the Saints offense looked about the same with Tyler Shough as it did with Spencer Rattler, right? They have been under 20 points scored in 6 of their last 7 games. The biggest beneficiary yesterday was Rashid Shaheed, who might not even be on the team by the time that we tape the show on Tuesday or Wednesday. Juwan Johnson found the only touchdown of the game, or found the end zone for the only time for the Saints yesterday. Good job if you started the Rams defense.
That game was so weird because I felt like we watched Tyler Shough play awful. And then they were like, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to bring in Taysom Hill and run 3 straight Wildcat plays. Like, forget having a quarterback even. We don't even need one on the offense.
Goal line play calling is a little bit out of whack right now.
That is what Taysom Hill does.
That's what Taysom Hill does.
How about a couple of guys getting back on track this week?
Okay.
Sam Laporta and Jamison Williams.
That's why you're wearing the jersey.
That's why we're wearing it. Well, I mentioned it here on the show this last week. I said that Sam Laporta was going to find the end zone. Had that as my best bet on fantasy football now.
Yep. Nailed that one.
And this is one of the things
on that after it happened yesterday.
It was great.
Laporta,
I was pumped. Absolutely, man. Vikings have given up 4 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 4 games. And in this one, Laporta 6 for 97 and a touchdown, 8 targets, 21.7 fantasy points, season high in receptions, receiving yards, targets, and fantasy points. Kind of highlights how it's been a tough run for Sam Laporta over the last little bit. But this was a classic Laporta game. And then Jamison Williams also 4 for 66 and a touchdown on 6 targets. He's had a kind of a weird run. Excuse me.
I'll say.
Because 6 targets still isn't enough for me to change the outlook on Jamison Williams, right? Like we talked about, Johnny Morton was going to come in to be able to get like more involvement in this offense. John Morton was like, I failed you. I need to get you more involved. We just gave you the bag. I mean, I love that he got in the end zone, but 6 targets is still only 6 targets. Now with Jamison Williams, 6 targets can be enough. He's one of the few players that can have that in his bag. And the good news is here, coming off of these 2 great games, in week 10, the Lions get the Commanders. So that's going to be really nice for all the pass catchers there. That's right.
Get the Commanders.
So shout out to everybody that was in that, and to everyone also that sent me really nice messages on social media that put down anytime touchdown bets on Sam Laporta. So congratulations to you guys. I got one more takeaway before we move into our must-talk injuries. It's the 49ers. CMC is just awesome again. We didn't mention it today, but like he's so good.
I feel so good that I'm not making this takeaway.
Yeah.
That must mean it's
exceptional.
He was so good.
Now is legit.
28 carries, 106 yards, another touchdown, plus another 5 catches for 67 receiving yards and another receiving touchdown for 34.3 fantasy points. Great bounce back game against the Giants. My question is not about CMC. It's about with Mac Jones under center since George Kittle has returned. It has not looked like the George Kittle show that I thought that it was going to. Returned in week 7, played 81% of the snaps, but had a goose egg with only 2 targets. Week 8, tough matchup. We knew that because it was the Texans, right? 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown on only 5 targets, 14.3. But he got in the end zone, so you love the production there.
Yeah.
And then this week, 4 for 32 for 6.9 fantasy points. But since his return, he has 2 targets, 5 targets, and 4 targets with Mac Jones as his quarterback. And that's not with a lot of people at the wide receiver spot. So is there any reason for concern, do you guys think? Is this a Mac Jones thing?
I don't know. My retort would be, what are you going to do? Like, you going to bench him?
Agreed. No. There's not a bench. It's just this has been 3 straight weeks where we've been waiting to get a guy back that we have all consistently viewed as a top 3 tight end, and he has not cracked 5 targets in any of the 3 games with a depleted receiving core.
I think it just
using him differently. Yeah, he's a great blocker. And
that's great if you got CMC in your fantasy squad.
I'm saying that if we don't have time to go through how the 49ers are shifting people around at all these different positions because of injury rate.
I am not saying you do anything different. I'm just saying it's unacceptable of the 49ers and we need to get more targets. Yeah. That's all.
At my last pin, the injuries are important today, is how many tight ends have really been good week in and week out? Jake Ferguson goes for a 0, and he moved all the way down to like tight end 4 this week, right? So like, if you happen to
this is not an actionable. I'm just stating something for people to notice. 5 or fewer targets in 3 straight games.
Everybody out there needs to feel like they have validation in their frustration.
I agree. Yep.
And if you want to be frustrated, we can talk about injuries.
Oh my gosh,
it always is the frustration topic of the year. But
Stephania, there was one major narrative that I feel like, which is, why is he playing the football game?
Well, that's not for me to answer.
All right.
I will just stick with the injury. And you are talking, of course, about Jaden Daniels, the Commanders' star young face of the franchise quarterback who was coming off of a hamstring injury, and we were happy to see how well he was moving. But late in the game, just had his left arm, so it's his non-throwing arm, kind of got pinned behind him as he went to the ground. It's just an awkward landing. This is usually how this happens. Dislocated his left elbow. If you saw it, it's one of those things you know right away. We talk about what a dislocation is. It's when the bones move out of position relative to one another. So when that happens, the joint now doesn't look like the joint. We saw it with Tyreek Hill's knee, and ends up the legs facing the wrong way. Same with Cam Scadaboo and the ankle, and the foot's facing the wrong way. Well, Jaden Daniels' elbow was facing the wrong way. Was put in an immobilizer and escorted off the field by the medical staff. Very, very painful injury. Just awful. And now becomes the what next. And we don't have enough detail to say these are all the steps of how the injury progression is. But typically with these, if it was open and broke through the skin, anytime you have an open wound, you have surgery right away like Cam Scadaboo did. Haven't heard about that yet. Don't think it did. But the question becomes, what's damaged? Do you have a fracture? Do you have ligament damage? Most likely with that vigorous of a dislocation. Damage to the capsule. What needs to be repaired? Do you treat it conservatively? These are all the things going that they're evaluating right now that they know that we don't.
Yep.
Bottom line, when you have a dislocation where you don't need to have a surgery on it, it might be a couple of months, and then you can start to work back to football activity.
Yep.
That's the lower side. And if that's the case, that would be end of season for the Commanders. They're not looking at the playoffs.
3-6 now.
Yeah, I don't think you're looking at Jaden Daniels coming back, is the bottom line.
We'll dive more into what the offense looks like with Marcus Mariota,
Agreed.
Probably for the rest of the season, starting this week.
Doesn't feel great, unfortunately. Stephania, if you have him on your roster when we're getting ahead to waiver wires, one of the things, he's unfortunately droppable.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving ahead.
Yeah, so he wasn't the only quarterback who left the game early yesterday. C.J. Stroud had just an ugly hit the back of his head when he was trying to slide, and defender came in across the top, and his head snapped and hit the ground, left concussion protocol. So C.J. Stroud is out. You know the rules after this. We don't have a time frame. You wait and see what happens. Another season-ending injury, unfortunately, to somebody we just talked about having maybe the best game of his career last week, Tucker Kraft, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers. Just so sad. Weird, kind of a blocking play collision. I think it injured his right knee. Ruled out for good in the fourth quarter. But when they say they suspect ACL, this is one of those where the manual testing is so sensitive that if they believe that's what it is, it's almost 100% the case that that's what it is. So confirmation for the ACL, and you find out if anything else was injured in the process. We should hear more about that today. And then Puka Nacua, we were so happy to have him back. from the ankle sprain. He ends up leaving the game with a chest injury. Now, Sean McVay said afterward, answering the question, they got his ribs. They got his ribs. But he was also saying it in the spirit of somebody who just won a big game, who is happy. It was like, yeah, Puka could have come back, but we were like, we're ahead. We just got you back from an injury. We don't need to do this. All of the conversation make you think that he will be available next week. So even though he maybe, if you were to look at the stat lines and see something, you thought, what happened? He left with an injury. This one sounds like it's not going to keep him out.
Thank goodness.
I love that the Rams did that because not only did Puka have a very reasonable day as it was, but because there was no Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams had a pretty reasonable day as well. So thank you for keeping our guy healthy for the long term, as well as being able to reward the other guy on the other side. Well, then let's talk about a couple of studs and duds really quickly to close this out. Stephania will continue to monitor those injuries, especially as we get into waiver wire tomorrow. Yep. So let's start at the top. Yeah. T. Higgins. T. Higgins turned in his Jamar Chase performance. I feel like he's good for like probably 3 or 4 of these. Yeah, every year he has like a couple. 7 catches for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets, 33.1 fantasy points. He was kind of the odd man out the last couple weeks when Jamar Chase had over 40 targets over the last 2 weeks, but this week he finally got back on track, so he crushed it.
Justin Herbert was great for the Chargers. They win this game close against the Titans, but Herbert was amazing with 250 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, but more importantly, nearly 60 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, good for 27.7 fantasy.
He has 30 or more rushing yards in 6 of his 9 games this year. Justin Herbert does. Yeah.
Joe Alt hurt again for him.
Dude.
That did not help them.
That sucks.
That one killed me. Rome Odunze, I was like, I was just looking, I was like, I thought I had pulled up Rome Odunze's stats. I'm like, no. That's not in the stud column, Stephania. It's his teammate, Olamide.
Olamide Zaccheaus. There you go.
You know what? Of all people,
I know,
I'm
Stephania.
the one who gets after pronunciation, but I was laughing at my own mistake. Okay. Well, he deserves more from me for going 6 for 58 with a touchdown, 17.8 fantasy points. I don't know. To me, he's one of those guys that it was like a dart throw in your lineup, and you just don't know what you're going to get from him on any given day. But if you were somebody who was struggling with a bye or needed a replacement, he was more than serviceable.
Yes, he was. And Rashee Rice was also more than serviceable. 4 catches, 80 yards. Found the end zone on a rushing play in which he was like a wildcat quarterback.
Yep, second time they've run that play in back-to-back weeks.
18.6 fantasy points. He's had all 3 games over 18 fantasy points. Field, he is crushing and cruising as a wide receiver 1 right now.
We probably need to spend more time talking about Matthew Stafford, the Rams quarterback, but his receiver, Devontae Adams, 5 for 60 and 2 touchdowns. He was great yesterday. You just mentioned that. Kyron Williams was also back to his usual self.
He's so good.
Kyron found the end zone late in this game, 25 for 114 and a touchdown. But put down Matthew Stafford as a name to discuss more. He has some of that Joe Flacco to him.
He does.
I get it, no running, but these guys are absolutely piercing defenses right now. Pop Douglas also great for the Patriots, 4 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. Should we get into the duds or no?
Princeton in the house.
I was going to say, let's get one Princeton in here.
I know. Listen, Princeton football not having a great year, but one of their alums showed up yesterday, 5 for 66 and a touchdown receiving. Andre Yoshivas.
Yeah, baby.
In the end zone. We love to see it.
Love that. Love getting that from him. All right, couple duds here, unfortunately. DK Metcalf. Another game where it just feels like not a lot of target share, right? Not getting a lot of volume. And if you don't get in the end zone, exactly. That's where you're at with DK.
We saw less of Kamani Vidal yesterday than I was expecting.
Me too.
He's been amazing for 2 of the 4 games he has started in place of Amari and Hampton. But yesterday he had 3 fantasy points, 12 carries for 30 yards, and nada in the passing game. We actually saw Jarrett Patterson rush for 32 yards. So not a great day there for Vidal. We have heard zilch, nada on Amari and Hampton, so I don't think he's coming back this week, but maybe we'll see him at some point later this season.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Sticking with the same team, Keenan Allen, who we've come to just been a reliable. Yeah. You know, it is. But Mr. Third Down, only 2 catches for 41 yards for Keenan Allen.
Yep. Yeah, and then this last one that we have here, unfortunately, was not great. Against the Rams. We knew it was a tough matchup, but 3 for 57 for Chris Olave. What are you supposed to do with Tyler Shuck as your quarterback? Like anything that we got.
You need to hope for 2 things. If you have Chris Olave, is like, more experience. Shuck's played 1 NFL game.
Correct.
You hope that he improves a little bit week in and week out. And then I think Rashid Shaheed could legitimately be moved by tomorrow, which would only mean more opportunity for other pass catchers. Chris Olave would step on up. Alvin Kamara, just if you're still starting him, like we got to have a conversation.
We've
been trying to warn you now for I don't even know how many weeks, but
it has been tough.
A different version of the player that we, for a long time, were accustomed to.
Trade deadline officially ends at Tuesday at 4 p.m.?
4 p.m.
Okay, so that's where we will have some good stuff. That means we're going to have to do a show.
Before our waiver wire pickups.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With the NFL, you always kind of temper expectations. So it'll be cool. It'd be cool to get.
It's not the NBA. We don't get like all the
Yep.
movement. And especially right now, I don't think there's that much very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest trade over the next 30 hours maybe took place this morning, which was Jalen Phillips to the Eagles. But let's wrap things up with Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Cowboys playing host to the Cardinals.
Yeah. How about a not hot take with this one? I think that many people believe Jacoby Brissett would just be better as the starting quarterback of this Arizona Cardinals for everyone involved.
The Cardinals might believe it, and that's my big thing that I am watching tonight is can Jacoby Brissett take advantage of an off-the-charts matchup?
Yes,
His
please.
projection is actually higher than Dak Prescott's. That's how good of a matchup it is for Jacoby, who has been playing pretty well, by the way. Threw for 340 yards in one of his starts, and there's a chance. I know Kyler Murray is still listed as questionable. This one also doesn't totally pass the smell test of
It does not.
Like it's the foot may not be the only reason why Jacoby Brissett is starting for Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. He's going back home, Texas.
Yeah.
Everybody there. And he's not playing. Yeah, I mean.
Well, here's the thing about Kyler Murray. Has yet to hit 225 passing yards this year. Jacoby Brissett has played 2 games. He has 275 and 320 in both of his starts.
340, my bad.
Kyler has 2 passing touchdowns in 2 of his 5 games this year. Again, Jacoby Brissett has only played 2 games and has multiple passing touchdowns in both. This offense, it's not just the eye test. Like, it's the box score. It's everything. You look at it, the offense just moves better with Jacoby Brissett under center. Kyler has not been a good passer for this team.
And they're 2-5.
And it bears out. You can see it.
You need to win games. Like, this is a franchise that I think finds itself potentially at a crossroads this offseason.
I do want to see if Bam Knight can do some things, because if you took a shot on the waiver wire this week and now you're waiting till Monday Night Football, like, this is your chance to see the guy that you added off of waivers and put directly in your starting lineup. We may only get 1 week, maybe 2, because this next week, Trey Benson eligible to come off of IR. We haven't heard that he's going to, but he is in that window to be able to do it, so something to monitor. But I'm interested to see how he plays. Anything else for the Cardinals, or are we looking now? Let's talk about Cowboys a
I
little
want
bit.
to see how Marvin Harrison Jr. looks with Jacoby Brissett this week. I mean, this is the week
Let's
of
do
weeks, right? And supposedly, I told you guys that story that they were going to, they were sticking around in practice afterwards. He was working with Jacoby Brissett. So maybe the chemistry that he never developed with Kyler is actually there with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he could be like the Joe Flacco unlocking the entire Bengals offense. Maybe Jacoby Brissett is what Marvin Harrison Jr. needed.
Yeah. And I think, Stephania, I fear you may have buried the lead here because you need Jake Ferguson to score under 17 fantasy points to beat Mike Clay in the FF Now League.
Whoa!
I didn't realize I was even close.
Well, you have a good team. So Mike had a good week. So he's keeping it.
But I mean, I didn't think I would be within, Jake Ferguson.
He has Jake Ferguson, and you're up 17.
I'm up?
Yes.
I didn't even look at that one. I assumed he beat me.
When you have Brock Bowers and Christian McCaffrey,
I know, but Mike Clay was so confident. He's like, I better beat that team. It's so lousy. Oh, Jake Ferguson, I need you to come back and have 16 points.
Well, here's the deal. But hold on now, because I need Jake Ferguson to outscore Trey McBride in order to win in our fantasy focus show league.
Okay.
So I also need a big game from Jake Ferguson. So we're trying to thread the needle where I get what I need. He needs 12 more fantasy points.
Okay, so here we go.
Than Trey McBride, which is going to be tough.
Trey McBride gets 3.7.
Yes.
Jake Ferguson gets 16.
Yes.
And then you both win.
Yes. I win and Stephania wins. And Mike loses.
Yes.
We solved it, America.
America wins.
Got it.
Ferguson,
I kind of need a monster Jacoby Brissett, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson night 2, Stephania.
Why don't we just make it a shootout?
You get Jacoby and George.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
There you go.
It's possible. It's a 6-point passing touchdown with big bonuses. So he could throw for 350 and 2 touchdowns, and I might have a really good.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So we've worked it out.
We like
the 3 of us
with Jacoby Brissett under center. I feel a lot better with his offense. Do you feel good enough to take the Cardinals in this matchup?
I'll take the Cowboys here.
Okay, all right.
The Cowboys at home are an absolute offensive juggernaut.
I am going to stick with the Cowboys.
Dallas
at
Cowboys.
Home. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll take the Dallas Cowboys as well at home.
How about 'em?
Sorry, guys. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Today's show was presented by Little Caesars. Make sure you come back and have fun with us tomorrow for the Waiver Wire. Have fun watching Monday Night Football. Don't forget to love yourself and be kind to each other. You deserve it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Later.
I could beat Mike Clay.
You're in the 06010.